That night, the rain fell like needles stitching up the sky, each cold thread drawn tight across the gravelly yard before the porch. A bare bulb hung and swung, washing the table in a murky yellow, just enough to see a steaming bowl of mustard green soup, a dark brown braised fish, and a pair of chopsticks someone had just thrown down with a hard clack. The mother flinched. The father gripped the chair so hard the veins stood up blue on his knuckles. "What did you say?" The father's voice went hoarse and cold, as if a pebble sat in his throat. "They asked me to go to the city with them. I'm sick of this place. It's always the same. Rows of cassava, rows of eggplant. I'm going," the boy said, chin lifted, eyes defiant. His name was Tuan, 19, hair spiked like burned grass, a half-fresh dragon tattoo on his arm still smudged red-blue from some market stall. "Go?" "With what money?" his mother asked, hand still pushing the soup toward him out of habit. Tuan swept the bowl away. Soup ran in a shining ribbon across the wood, quivering with the light like a shivering stream. "I'm grown. I'll manage. Grown, so now you talk back to your parents?" The father's voice cut like an axe splitting kindling. "I told you to learn carpentry with Uncle Bay. You quit. I called you to help till the field. You hid. You drink with those boys. Do you even count this house as anything anymore?" Tuan shot to his feet. The chair crashed. His shin caught the table's edge. Pain flared. Anger roared up like flame. "This house? What's in this house? Pig manure and smoke. I'm going to see how other people live, whether it kills me or not." The mother gasped a small "I," and the father straightened. The two men stared at each other over the wood table like two stakes driven deep into earth. The rain hammered outside. "Go," the father growled, head tilted toward the door. "Go for good. Don't come back to make your mother suffer." Tuan gave a bitter laugh so sour he tasted it on his tongue. He yanked up an old backpack, shoved in a few clothes, snatched a rain-slick cap. Before stepping out, he turned and hissed between his teeth, "I'm going. I won't take a single penny. Let's see if this house collapses without me." The door slammed like a hand, snuffing the fear in the mother's eyes and choking the father's sigh mid-breath. The rain swallowed Tuan and the dragging footprints he left in the muddy yard. The city didn't greet him with 1,000 lights like the clips on T's phone. It greeted him with truck engines bellowing, diesel breath thick under an overpass, people clutching bags and hurrying with their heads down. He followed Tuan, the boy from the upper hamlet who'd quit school in 9th grade and now hauled lumber for a wood mill. Tuan led him to a low row of rooms, tin roofs hot even under rain. The door opened onto 10 mats packed side by side, the sweat of men, the mold of clothes never quite dry, the cough of some uncle hacking in the corner. "Crash here." "We split the rent at month's end," said Tuan, shoving an old towel at him. "Up at 4:30. Be at the mill by 5. Don't be late." The foreman cusses like a storm. Tuan nodded, eyes skimming strangers slumped in the heat, the ceiling fan creaking, pushing damp air in circles. He lay down with the backpack under his head. He'd thought the first night away would taste like freedom. But when rain rattled the tin like 1,000 kernels poured into a winnowing tray, he suddenly missed his mother's dawn shuffling at the stove, his father's sniff as he threw green wood on the mosquito fire. He rolled, dragged the cap over his eyes, and tried not to breathe the memory of smoke that had never smelled so sweet. On the first day at the mill, they called it light work, pulling a handcart, stacking boards on the belt. By noon, his shoulders were stone, his wrists raw where splinters bit. Sawdust clung to hair and skin. No water ever quite quenched the grit in his throat. He clenched his jaw. He would not be weak, he told himself. He'd prove to his father he could stand on his own. "Hey, new kid, move!" The foreman's bark cracked across the yard. Heavy set, a belly pushing his belt, eyes narrowed as if they could bore through flesh. "Yes, sir," said Tuan. At home, when his father called, he always snapped back. Here, he only said "yes, sir" over and over. He kept his head down. Lunch brought a mill-issued box. Plain rice, 2 bits of braised pork, a few slices of cucumber. He remembered the fish his mother had cooked the night before, the plate he'd flung away. Now he'd eat anything so long as it was hot. He chewed fast as if the rice might flee. Toward evening, the rain lifted. Sun trickled into the yard like poured honey. Wood warmed and breathed resin. People said the body would adjust, but on the 3rd day, as he pulled the cart past the loading bay, someone had left a board askew. It skidded and fell, smacking his calf with an edge. Pain shot like a flare. He squatted, teeth clamped till his lip bled. What kind of work is that? Brat! The foreman heaved the board aside, barked orders, and the line kept moving. I'm fine, said Tuan. He knew the rhythm here. No one lingered. That night, his calf was black as a bruised plantain. He drew in a long breath. The room stank of the poor. A baby in the next room mewled like a lost kitten. He smiled without knowing why. A week, 2, a month. Sometimes on Saturday nights, Tuan dragged him out for beer at the alley corner. Packs of laborers cursed the foreman, cursed the owner, cursed life. Tuan drank and laughed as if he could shatter everything, then lay stiff-eyed under a stained ceiling. Some nights his phone throbbed. Missed call from his mother's number. He shut it off, not out of hatred, but fear of hearing her cry. He imagined coming home with money, standing tall before his father and saying, I made it alone. He imagined it, but the rice jar in the corner never filled. Rent, food, secret cigarettes, paying back what he owed Tuan. The city ate people by spoonfuls. The morning of the accident refused to brighten. A new truckload of timber arrived. He climbed the rigging to loose the ties. Night rain had soaked the stack. The planks were slick as grease. Standing up there felt like standing on a thrashing fish. Careful! Someone yelled below, but the saws screamed everything empty. He bent for the rope. One misstep, then another. His body pitched into a white noise of sawdust. His hand closed on air like a dream breaking. The last thing he heard was the thud, then dark. When he opened his eyes, the ceiling wasn't the boarding room's. Disinfectant, rubber sandals slapping. A nurse slipped past, the tray chiming thinly. He tried to move. Pain detonated from his spine down his legs, like barbed wire dragged through flesh. He opened his mouth, but only a fly's buzz fell out. You're awake, said a middle-aged doctor, voice even as a weather report. You've injured your spine. Life isn't in danger, but walking as before will depend on treatment and rehabilitation. How long? His lips were paper. No one can say, the doctor smiled sadly. You'll need patience, patience. The word never lived in Tuan's dictionary. He was quick to anger, quick to quit. Now they told him patience, as if telling a fish to climb a tree. He stared at the ceiling. Men from the mill visited once. Tuan left some cash and the cap he liked. Then everyone was busy. Pain stayed faithful. It lay wherever he lay. On the 5th day, the nurse said gently that family had come. He turned his face into the pillow. His heart pounded like drums. Mother came first, thinner, shadows under her eyes. She gripped him and sobbed so hard the bed rattled. Father came after. He stood at the foot in a faded brown shirt, a straw hat in his hands. He said nothing, just looked at his son with eyes like an oil lamp in a draft, flickering, warm. Shame flushed through Tuan. He wanted to crawl under the bed. Come home, said the father, his voice rough from a long cough. Our house still has room. It always will. He didn't answer. His lips trembled. 19-year-old boys don't cry before their fathers, he thought. But the tears spilled hot and salty past his ears. His mother sniffled. His father's hand sank to his shoulder, calloused like a root hardened by weather, yet it fell as lightly as if touching something fragile. Home. When the car turned into their lane, hibiscus burned red after rain. The mangy dog barked and leaped. Neighbors peered. Back already? How's your boy? The curiosity smelled strong. Mother smiled, thanked them. Father lifted his son from the car the way he had when the boy was 2 and learning to walk. Those hands felt small against the weight of the man he'd become. The father bent, voice low as if he might wake someone. Easy, don't stiffen. I've got you. They laid him on the old woodbed by the window looking out on bananas. That first night, crickets rasped, frogs boomed from the pond, and his mother sighed in her sleep. Somewhere an owl called and made him start. Not sirens, not saws. Home sounds. He shut his eyes. The ache still sparked like live wires along his spine, but beneath pain stood something steady and warm called home. At first light, when the sun tugged the gauze of mist from the fields, his father carried him to the porch and set him on a bamboo chair, wedging a pillow at his back. Breathe in, out, he said, calm as when he'd taught the boy to balance buckets long ago. Now rub your legs. I'll do it first. You'll learn to do it yourself. The father's rough hands passed slowly down the calf, kneading each band of muscle as if soothing a baby. Tuan gritted his teeth till black flecks danced in his vision. The father spoke of small things. The guava bore less fruit. Uncle Bay bought a cow. Aunt Tom was pulling weeds and singing bunko next door. The rhythm of his voice and breath was a little boat ferrying Tuan across the river of pain to an island of quiet. "Now try to stand," said the father after a while. "Hold my shoulder. Don't be afraid." He swallowed. Anyone can say don't be afraid. Fear lives in bone, not in the head. Still, he set his hand on that shoulder, hard, warm, salty with sweat. He lifted himself. His legs rebelled, shaking. The father stood like a temple pillar. "Good," he said. 1, 2, again. He stood, then sat, then stood. Each rise was like a step up into fog. The father never rushed, never scolded. He counted, waited, caught. When sweat ran and the boy went pale, the father said, "Rest." He brought a cup of warm voi leaf tea, blew on it, held it to his son's lips. The warmth slid down. His eyes stung. He avoided looking at his father, afraid the tears would spill like a child's. By the third day, the village grew used to the two silhouettes on the porch. Aunt Tam stopped to lay a bundle of little sticky cakes on the table. "Eat! Get strong," she said, eyes sneaking toward the boy's legs. The father thanked her in the same polite tone. Tuan bowed his head, not from the old shame of the hospital, but from a ledger of debts. Sleepless nights owed his mother, a bent back owed his father, and a proper apology owed himself. Sunlight changes when you pay attention. He realized this one morning in June when the light slid into the porch and painted the brick floor in soft golden patches. The father set his son's feet down. His hand steadied a knee. "One step," he said. "Not far. Just a step, one step." The soul touched the floor like a fledgling thrown by wind. Pain, fear. Then the father drew him back. "Good," he said. Again. Days turned one step into 2, then 3. The boy learned to trust the hands holding him, the sweat running down his father's neck, the quiet good that met each distance gained. One afternoon, a sudden shower mottled the porch. The father scooped him up and hurried inside. Lying on the bed listening to rain, Tuan laughed. "What?" his mother asked. "I remembered when you carried me to hide from rain," he said, voice husky. "I grabbed your ears and you scolded, 'Don't pull my ears, grab my shirt.' It's the same now." His mother touched his brow and smiled. "The sky turns and we turn with it." That night, when she had gone to the kitchen, the father sat by the bed, shaving at a stick of bamboo. The soft hiss of the blade was soothing. "What are you making?" the boy asked. "A cane," the father said. "Tomorrow you'll walk in the yard." "It'll help, Dad," he said. The word surfaced like a stone lifted by low water. I'm sorry," the knife stilled. The father lifted his head. Lamplight made his eyes shine. He nodded. "Saying it is good. I said terrible things. I thought leaving was smart. I hurt you and Mom." He set the knife down and took his son's hand. I was hot-tempered too. I should have held it back. This house isn't a market stall where we shout across counters. It's done now, he squeezed. You're home. Let's keep going. It wasn't forgiveness with big words. It was a hand with raised veins, a bamboo cane carved in the night, a steady good in the morning, a hot bowl of porridge when sweat broke. Word spread faster than the sweet bean seller's call. The runaway son had returned and his father was carrying him to learn to walk. Poor father, some said. Poor boy, others said. No one said poor mother, because she still went to market each dawn with a woven basket, still smiled, still sold bunches of backyard greens. Each pour was a nod, and each nod weighed on the boy. Strangely, the more he heard, the more he wanted to plant each step firm, to cross the gate unassisted. A clear afternoon came. The father lined bricks into a crooked path in the yard. Today we walk this road, he said. No rush. If you fall, I'll catch you. The path kinked into sharp turns. The boy swallowed and moved the cane inch by inch. Sweat ran in threads. A ripe guava thumped off a branch. A hen clucked. His foot slid over each brick. At the final bend, the cane skidded. He listed like a skiff slammed by a wave. The father lunged. His back, hard as a tree trunk, bore the weight. It's okay, he said. Hold my shirt. There. Try again. The boy clutched his father and for the first time really smelled him. Not stink, but a briny salt. The smell of fields and sun. He gripped the cloth as if it were the last sure thing in his life. On the second try, he made the turn. The father didn't praise, just patted his arm. He said. Keep going. At night, when the house slept, the boy insisted on bending and straightening his legs. Does it hurt too much? His mother asked. He smiled. Pain means there's still feeling, he said. Feeling means I can walk. He dozed in the chair, sleep scented with mint leaves his mother hung by the stove, a breath of wood smoke warming his dreams. One day the father took him to the edge of the rice. Stand here, he said. Let the wind hit your face. It's not cool, but it steadies you. New seedlings spread green as a cloth. Standing in that wide circle, the boy felt small as dust. But smallness made him want to stand straight, like a sprout pushing through soil. Dad, he said after a while, when I can walk, I'll do something useful. I'll work close to home. I'll help, the father smiled. Do anything. Just don't look down on anyone and don't look down on yourself. I look down on us, the boy said, the words pebbled. I thought I couldn't breathe here. Turns out the city is where I couldn't breathe. The father didn't answer. He tilted his head at a drifting veil of cloud. Clouds float everywhere, he said. But the clouds over your own head, those are yours. By early autumn, the boy could walk from the porch to the gate and back. His mother was so happy she cooked a pot of mung bean sweet soup and sprinkled coconut on top. She invited the lane. Everyone cheered. He blushed and still ate 3 bowls. That's how you'll put on weight, she teased. The father watched, smiling quietly. Try the lane tomorrow, the father said. But don't overdo it. Next day, the road glittered like someone had brushed it with chicken fat. He went slowly, cane tapping. Children raced by, giggling. Uncle, did you fall? One asked. He nodded and smiled. The question no longer scraped him raw. His heart felt wide as a riverbed after flood, the sandbars flat and ready to take a step. At Sister Moy's shop, he paused. She handed him sugarcane juice. I don't have money, he joked, fingering the straw. Go on, she waved. Your mom has owed me plenty. My turn to pay it back. The juice was cold and sweet and made him want to cry. He turned his face. Drops clung to the cane and glittered like undissolved sugar in the sun. Uncle Bay the carpenter stopped by. He's doing well, he said, eyeing the boy's legs. I'm short a hand for light work. Come look. If you like it, stay. The boy looked at his father. How do you feel? The father asked. The boy heard his own heartbeat like a knock at his door. I'll try, he said. The shop was nothing. Old tin roof, thatch patched in. The wood smelled familiar but different from the city. Here the scent held sun and straw. The uncle put him on sorting screws, dulling sharp edges, lining up stools. Light work, he said. Nothing heavy. If it hurts, stop. The cane leaned in the corner like a silent friend. He shook more on this first day than he had in the city. He moved slowly, surely. At noon, the uncle whacked sugarcane on a board and passed him a bundle. The crispness under his teeth sounded like pride splintering, releasing a quiet sweetness. He tramped home dusty. His mother met him in the lane and wiped his face with guava leaf water. His father watched from the porch, eyes wanting to smile while his mouth held still. Don't get greedy, the father said. Small steps. Yes, sir, the boy said, surprised at the lightness of the yes. Before, every yes had weighed like a stone. Now it opened the house to breeze. By October, the fields were gold like a mat spread before them. The wind ran waves through the grain. He stood on a levee with his cane, listening to the rice hush, and felt his own heart ripple. Dad, he said when his father came up behind him, I want to apologize again. When I left, I thought you hated me. Now I see the worst hate is watching your son go wrong and not knowing how to pull him back. The father didn't answer right away. He stood and watched the field. When you were 2, he said, you charged ahead learning to walk. You fell flat and howled. I picked you up. Every time. One day you could walk. Then you fell again another way. Whatever the fall, we lift the same. But the boy faltered. This time, the father turned, meeting his eyes. The first person to lift you has to be you. A gust flipped the brim of his father's hat, exposing a few white hairs, thin as fog. The boy nodded. In that nod was a promise. From now on, he would lay each step down with the full weight of gratitude. By November, Uncle Bay had an order for stools for a new noodle shop. The boy sanded and checked for wobble. He ran a palm over wood like petting a sleeping cat, sleek, warm. You've got the hands, the uncle said. Your fathers were true, straight in everything. You take after him, the boy smiled. He wanted to hear more about his father, the pieces he'd missed while sulking. That night, he asked where his father had learned. At 15, the father said. "I followed your great-uncle, worked in the coconut country, soaked and sunburned, hauled timber by boat." He said it like talking about market prices. "Why'd you quit?" the boy asked. The father glanced at the mother and grinned. "I met your mother. She didn't want to roam. She wanted a garden and chickens. So I stayed." The mother, sifting rice in a basket, swatted his shoulder. "You old fox," they all laughed. The sparrows on the eave hopped and settled again. Warmth rolled through the boy like the hot water his mother handed him every morning. That night he wrote a letter. Pen on school paper white, he moved slowly, as if walking his June brick path. "Dad, Mom, I was wrong. I thought money and freedom were enough. I didn't know home is where you fall and someone lifts you. I didn't know father is the back you grab when you're scared. I didn't know mother is the hot bowl put in your hands at the right time. Now I know. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you." He folded the note and set it by the incense bowl, turned from good wood by his father long ago. From the porch, the wind carried talk from the kitchen, fertilizer prices rising, the neighbor's baby boy, a day to go to church to pray for peace. Small things like sesame sprinkled on rice crackers, and it's the sesame that keeps the fragrance. Once the uncle asked him to deliver stools to the preschool. The yard buzzed with little feet, and a teacher clapped as they sang about grasshoppers. He stood at the gate watching, and something pinched at his heart, something like regret, like love, both. The principal came to sign. Seeing the cane, she softened. He smiled. "I fell. I'm learning again." "I'm okay now," she nodded. "Keep at it," she said, as if he were one of her own pupils. On the way back, he bought a banh mi. It was hot, golden. He bit and remembered how his father used to break one in half and give him the crisp tip. "You eat it," his father said. "I like the soft end." Later, he learned the crisp tip was his father's favorite. Grown-ups tell small lies that are all love. That evening, he told the story, laughing. His father laughed too. "You take the crispy end now," he teased. "I'll take the soft." "No." The boy shook his head, broke off the crunch, and handed it over. "Now I know which part is crispy." The father took it and bit, silent, but a bar of sunlight crossed his eyes. He hadn't dreamed in a long time, only sunk heavy and rose. One night he dreamt he was on the rig again, rain driving. He was about to slip. A hand pressed his back and held him. He turned but saw only sun-browned hands with blue veins. He woke and sat up. His father's breathing was even across the room. On the wall, his father's shadow stood neat as a house post. The boy laid a palm on his chest and felt peace thumping there. He smiled into the dark. The day he decided to walk to the district market without the cane, the sky was clear as if freshly washed. "I'll go around the block," he told them. The father nodded. "Follow the dirt road. Don't cut the fields." His mother slipped a cloth bag in his hand, small bills and a sticky rice cake from Aunt Tom. "If you're hungry." The familiar road felt new. Grasses quivered by the canal. A little bird burst from the bamboo. A yellow dog yawned at a gate. He walked hearing his feet touch earth. He didn't rush. He read it like a good book, slow enough to taste each word. At the market, Sister Moy clapped. "There he is. Walking like a general." "A lame general," he joked. "Lame where?" She tapped his shoulder. "Buying anything?" "No," he said. "Just seeing." At the gate, his father waited under the plum tree's shade. "Good walk?" he asked. "Good," the boy said, cheeks pinked by sun. He stopped a step away and looked at that back. Suddenly, he wanted to do what he hadn't done in years. He leaned his forehead on his father's shoulder. The father startled, then stood. "Thank you," the boy said into the wind. The father didn't answer, only reached back, touched his son's arm, and squeezed once. Year-end chilled the air. Fog hung over the fields like a thin curtain. That day, his mother cooked sour snakehead soup. The smell filled the house. The boy set the table. His father split new chopsticks. His mother ladled soup. They ate without speaking at first, only spoons tapping bowls, chopsticks whispering, fire ticking in the stove. After the soup, the boy rose, pulled his chair back, and went to his knees before them. "Mom." "Dad," he said, palms on his father's knee. "I'm sorry. I was rude. I talked back. I ran away. I made you suffer. I'm sorry." His mother burst into tears, clutching his hands. His father looked down. His eyes were clouded with water, but his voice stayed steady. "Enough," he said softly. "Stand up and eat while it's hot." Saying it is enough. People can't live without being foolish at times. What matters is if you'll get wiser afterward. I will, the boy said, laughing through tears. I promise. Don't promise much. The father clicked his tongue. Do, they ate. A plain meal, the best of the year. The fish was sweet to the bone, the taro stem crisp, the tomatoes red. His mother picked the best for his father for him. He slipped it back into his mother's bowl. The small circle of a family turned without squeaking. A few months later, a young man stood at the front room under a sign, stool repair, shelf building, small woodwork. He no longer needed the cane, only hesitated when the weather shifted. He smiled, measured carefully, sawed carefully, sanded carefully. People brought wobbling stools. He fixed them. Termite-bitten tables. He replaced their legs. He charged fairly. He refused payment from the old. Enough, he said. At dusk, when the sun exhaled a last warm breath, he put cords away, stood the planes, wiped the bench. His father watched from the porch and now and then said, "Your square's off," or "Use 1.5" nails. The young man nodded and corrected. A little boy came clutching a toy car with a broken wheel. Can you fix it? The young man took it and studied. I can. The father watched his son bend over plastic, his back not bowed as when he carried him, but straight and handsome. In a breath, he saw the toddler sprawled in the yard, hands slapping dirt, mouth bawling. He saw the 19-year-old fling chopsticks, spit words, slam the door. He saw the patient with empty eyes. Then he saw the boy gripping the back of his shirt to learn a step. Sweat dripping on brick, the bamboo cane shaved at night. His own hands trembling as he eased the boy through the last crooked turn. And he saw this day, a late afternoon with a grandmotherly wind and familiar sun. He let out a breath so light no one heard. But the young man turned, as if hearing it with a sense learned only these last months. Dad, he called. Supper. The father nodded and called into the kitchen. Woman, set the table. The mother answered, bright as a bell. Coming. They ate and told the little stories of the day. An 1.5 nail, Aunt Tom picking tea leaves, a preschooler who tripped and didn't cry but stood and dusted himself off. They laughed. After dinner, the boy washed dishes, the father watered chili plants, the mother clinked bowls straight in the cupboard. The tiny sounds assembled a simple song called Ordinary. That night, the moon rose yellow as an egg yolk. The boy carried a new stool he had made to the porch and sat. His father brought his stool too. They faced the moon without looking at each other. After a while, the father said, Tomorrow we'll go to the fields early. The wind's cool there. Yes, the boy said. I'll get up early. Bring a jacket. Yes. They sat a while longer. A cricket started up under the bananas. Moonlight poured a thin strip of silver across the yard. The boy closed his eyes and listened to his father breathe, steady, sure. He imagined that hand on his shoulder, warm as a brick lifted from the brazier. Dad, he said softly, as if to the moon. Thank you for carrying me. When I was small, when I was grown, thank you for steadying me across the slick places of life. This time the father didn't just say, He put his hand on his son's shoulder. It wasn't as strong as before, but it was the same old ferry where a boat could tie. Tomorrow, a few more steps, he said, half command, half lullaby. Walk until you're tired. That's enough for a life, the boy smiled. Yes, he answered. In that yes lay an apology left behind, a thanks living in the present, and a quiet promise for the days ahead, to walk, steady, slow, with his father's shadow always beside his own on the ground. The moon lingered, reluctant to go. Night's hem fluttered in a small breeze. In the little house of 3, sleep came last, late and gentle. Each carried a different thing into sleep. The mother a laugh, the father a salt sweat scent, the boy a pair of legs that had fallen and now could stand. Night held them like a warm thatch nest. Somewhere far away, another lamp clicked off later. Here the cricket still sang. And deep in the night, someone's footsteps, maybe the wind's, slid quietly across the porch and woke no one. By morning, when sunlight spilled through the curtain, 2 shadows would move across the brick again. One tall, one shorter, the tall still steady. The shorter now even? They wouldn't talk much. They would count. 1, 2, then 3, 4. Then so many they wouldn't need to count. And at the far end of the yard, where the bricks were uneven and familiar underfoot, a new thin worn line would run straight to the gate. People could call that line patience or love or forgiveness. To Tuan, it was simply a father's footsteps. Footsteps that once carried, once caught, once led. Footsteps that made a road. And once a road